Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a truly unique approach, actually. Instead of our usual stack of articles and reports, we're actually deep diving into just one document. But it's a document that honestly reads like an entire library. It's the curriculum vitae of Professor Abdolbasit Adam Mariod. Now, I know what you might be thinking, a CV. For a deep dive, sounds maybe a little dry, right? But trust me on this one, this CV is anything but. It's really a remarkable chronicle. Think of it like a roadmap through a professional life that's just so extensive, so globally impactful, and incredibly diverse. It gives us these amazing insights into food science, traditional knowledge, and, well, even beyond that. It's not just about what he's accomplished, it's about what his journey can teach us about innovation, maybe, and cross-cultural understanding.
Exactly. And our mission today is really to unpack this incredible journey for you. We're not just going to list achievements. That's not the point. We want to extract the most important nuggets, the key insights. We'll try to connect the dots across this huge body of work and, hopefully, reveal what makes Professor Mariod such a leading figure in his field. You'll discover not just what he studies, although that's fascinating, but critically, why it matters, why it's important for big global issues like food security, health, and even preserving cultural heritage.
And when we say leading figure, we really mean it. I mean, the stats back it up. You're looking at someone with a Google Scholar H-index of 46, nearly 7,500 citations, an I-10 index of 136. Now, for anyone not familiar, that H-index, 46, it reflects both productivity and, crucially, the impact of his publications. It's a really high score. It shows consistent, significant influence. And get this, Stanford University has classified him among the top 2% of global, highly cited researchers.
Wow.
Yeah, not just once, but in 2020, 2022, 2023, and 2024.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's really unpack this extraordinary career.
Okay, so where do we start? I think what's immediately striking when you first look is just how international his academic foundation is. Really profoundly international. Professor Mariod started with his Bachelor of Science in Food Science and Tech from Alexandria University in Egypt. Right. Then he pursued his master's at Gezira University in Sudan. And then for his PhD in natural science, he went to the Westfälische Wilhelms-Universität Münster in Germany.
Okay, so Egypt, Sudan, Germany. That's not just ticking boxes. That's a real journey across continents, different academic culture.
Absolutely. And you could see how that must have shaped his global perspective, his adaptability. It's baked in from the start.
And even his PhD thesis title, it sort of gives us a sneak peek, doesn't it? A major theme that runs through his whole career. It was investigations on the oxidative stability of some unconventional Sudanese oils traditionally used in human nutrition. So right there, early stage, his Sudanese roots, this interest in overlooked local resources. It's influencing his science. That's not exactly a standard PhD topic you see every day.
No, it's not. It's very telling. And you see this commitment continue, right? This dual commitment to, let's say, cutting-edge scientific rigor, but also local relevance. Look at his current appointments. He's professor at the University of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, a modern advanced institution.
Okay.
But at the same time, he also holds a professorship at the Indigenous Knowledge and Heritage Center at Gibesh College of Science and Technology, back in Sudan.
Straddling both worlds.
Yes. And that dual role, I think, is crucial. It shows this dedication not just to pushing scientific boundaries, but also to preserving and, importantly, elevating traditional wisdom, using science to understand and validate it. He sees both as vital.
It really paints a picture of someone acting as a bridge, doesn't it? And his teaching responsibilities, they're just as broad. I mean, ranging from foundational stuff like general inorganic chemistry, all the way up to really specialized postgraduate subjects, things like advanced cereal technology and functional foods.
Yeah, so he's not just a researcher. He's clearly shaping the next generation of food scientists across the whole spectrum of the discipline.
Building the foundation and the future. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to his research focus, because this is where it gets, I think, really captivating for anyone interested in, say, sustainable food. Professor Mariod has spent a huge chunk of his career exploring what he terms unconventional food sources, ingredients that, frankly, many of us probably wouldn't even consider.
Absolutely. And his core research interests, they really shout pioneer, don't they? Things like functional foods and nutraceuticals, foods with added health benefits beyond just basic nutrition.
Like fortified foods or supplements.
Exactly. And then the extraction, determination, identification, and application of bioactive compounds. So finding those natural substances in food that affect our bodies, and critically, this focus on oil and fat news sources, He really is right at the forefront, identifying and figuring out how to use novel resources for food, but also for other things.
Okay, so let's dive into one of those truly unconventional areas you mentioned, insects.
Yes, insects. And he's not just like dipping a toe in, he's doing extensive investigations. Insects as sources of edible oil, protein, even things like gelatin.
Wow.
Yeah. For instance, he's published detailed work on the melon bug, that's Spongopus vigivatus, and the sorghum bug, Agonocilus pubescens. He's analyzing their potential, not just as food for humans, which is already pretty radical for many cultures,
Right.
but also for applications like biodiesel production.
Okay, so it's broader than just eating bugs.
Much broader. This isn't just, academic curiosity for its own sake. It's about tackling these fundamental questions: food security, resource scarcity. It's challenging our whole idea of what food even is.
Yeah.
The insight, maybe, is that the next big solution might be hiding in plain sight in these overlooked corners.
That is definitely unconventional and a major mental shift for a lot of people, I imagine. But beyond insects, he also dives deep into indigenous plants. And this is where that link to traditional knowledge really comes through strongly, I think. You find research on plants like Sclerocaria borea, that's marula, or homide,
Mm-hmm.
Monechma ciliatum black malab, Balanites aegyptiaca heglig, various cucurbits, so gourds and melons and things.
Yeah, digging deep.
He's uncovering their unique oils, their antioxidant properties, other bioactive compounds that could have real health benefits. And what's really impressive here, he holds patents for natural antioxidants derived from several of these plants.
Right.
That's taking it from the lab bench right into potential real-world application, tangible outcomes.
It is. And the recognition for this work, it's not just sitting in journals.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Golden Medal for Research Innovation Insects as unconventional source of oils.
Yeah, back in 2007.
Right, at an exhibition.
Yeah.
So that's not just an academic nod. It's recognizing the innovative potential, the practical impact of challenging these food norms.
Mhm.
It sort of validates the idea, doesn't it, that these maybe out there ideas are gaining real scientific traction and are seen as having genuine world value.
That medal is a great example, yeah. A tangible sign that these unconventional ideas are getting noticed globally, but it also points to something deeper, maybe. That whole spirit of valuing local indigenous resources and finding ways to elevate them, make them globally relevant. So how does that same philosophy, that same approach, translate when he looks at something like traditional food systems, which seems different, but is maybe deeply connected?
That's a really crucial connection to make. If we link all this to the bigger picture, you see Prof.Mariod expertly bridging traditional knowledge with modern science. It's quite remarkable. He understands that these ancient practices, they often hold keys to future innovations. But he also knows modern science can validate them, maybe improve them, help preserve them. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about creating this powerful synergy between the two.
So what does that kind of holistic approach mean for how we understand cultural food traditions, especially in a world that, let's be honest, often overlooks them or sees them as, I don't know, primitive?
It means a profound reevaluation, I think. A huge part of his work focuses directly on traditional Sudanese foods. And he's not just observing from afar. He edited an entire book on the subject, meticulously covering everything from asida, that's a fermented stiff porridge, and garasa, a traditional flatbread, to things like marara, which is an uncooked lamb stew, and mukbaza, a kind of banana paste with honey. What he's doing is preserving this culinary heritage, but through a rigorous scientific lens, documenting not just the recipes, but their scientific basis, their nutritional value.
So going beyond just collecting recipes.
Way beyond.
Yeah.
His research delves into specific traditional preparations, like analyzing Sudanese fermented foods, kisra, hulumur. He's looking at their nutritional value, obviously, but also their microbiological load, which is critical, right, for understanding food safety, spoilage, but also the beneficial microbes involved in fermentation.
Right, the good bugs.
Exactly. And he's examining things like acrylamide content. Now, that's a modern food safety concern. Acrylamide can form in starchy foods during high-heat cooking, potential health risks.
Okay.
Applying that modern scientific concern to traditional diets, that's a perfect example of bridging old and new, validating and potentially improving safety.
Yeah.
He also studies gum arabic extensively, an ancient commodity, right?
Huge, yeah.
Looking at its health benefits, functional properties, how it's used in food. He's written entire books and chapters on its structure, its chemistry, even its economics.
That's incredibly thorough. It feels like both validation and modernization of these ancient practices. And you mentioned he's also looking at actively evolving traditional foods.
Yes, exactly. Like his project to develop al kawada, which is a traditional Saudi food, he's looking at incorporating ingredients like olive oil or black seed. So it's not just about freezing tradition in time.
Right.
It's about helping these foods adapt,
Mhm.
stay relevant for today's tastes, today's nutritional needs, but still retaining their cultural essence.
That makes sense, helping them live on.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this really brings up that critical point again about bridging traditional knowledge and modern science. When you see his involvement with a group like ATEXP.
That's the Agricultural Technologist Experts Organization, the Sudanese NGO.
Right. Focused on rural development, relief, rehabilitation. How do you think that kind of direct, on-the-ground community engagement informs his scientific approach? Does it change the questions he asks in the lab, maybe?
That's a fantastic question because it highlights that his work isn't just happening in some isolated ivory tower, right? Being directly involved with 8XPO means he's seeing the real world problems: food scarcity, nutritional issues, economic challenges in rural areas. He's seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
That kind of direct experience, it must ground his research in practical, urgent needs. It makes the science inherently more relevant, more impactful. It becomes science for the people, not just about them.
Well put.
And that connection, that practicality, it leads us perfectly into our next point. Professor Mariod's influence, it really goes far beyond just publications and academic roles. He's clearly a highly sought-after expert for practical applications and, importantly, for capacity building, helping others build skills.
Yeah, absolutely is. He's done numerous studies and consultancies for various companies.
Yeah.
This is where science directly meets industry needs. For example, a comprehensive study of current status of ice cream manufacturing in Sudan for MyCoco.
Ice cream in Sudan. Okay.
Right. And implementing quality control and good practice programs at Jaleb bakeries. He also worked on the application of ISO certificate programs for food factories. This shows that direct translation, taking advanced scientific knowledge and making it actionable for businesses, helping them improve safety, efficiency, quality.
It's one thing to publish a paper on, say, microbial loads, but it's totally different to walk into a working bakery and actually implement new QC programs.
Oh, absolutely.
That must be incredibly challenging, translating high-level science into a busy commercial kitchen with all the real-world pressures and constraints.
It requires a unique skill set, definitely, a blend of deep scientific understanding and very practical problem solving. But he doesn't just do the work himself, which is key. He's clearly committed to empowering others. You see his expertise listed in training areas like writing journal articles, writing theses, writing funding proposals, even how to avoid plagiarism.
Building the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It's not just about the technical skills. It's about fostering ethical, effective scientific communication, making sure the next generation can contribute meaningfully, responsibly to the global scientific conversation.
That makes sense. And his impact is amplified even further, isn't it, by his involvement in the research system itself?
Oh, definitely. He's been part of, 22 research projects listed here?
Yeah.
And secured significant funding. Notably, he was a principal investigator on a major project about diet and chronic diseases in Saudi Arabia, funded by KCST King Abdulaziz, City of Science and Technology.
How much was that grant?
The total grant was $533,000, a substantial amount.
Wow.
And beyond leading projects, he's also deeply embedded in the peer review process. He regularly reviews for over 80 international journals, serves on numerous editorial boards.
80 journals, that's huge.
It is. And this isn't just about his personal achievements, right? It underscores his role in maintaining the quality, the integrity, the future direction of global food science research. He's actively shaping the scientific landscape.
That's an immense contribution and a lot of responsibility. As we follow this incredible career path through the CV, it becomes really clear that Professor Mariod's intellectual curiosity, it doesn't just stop at the lab bench or the lecture hall. There's another layer here, a surprising thread woven through his life that I think says a lot about his holistic way of understanding the world.
This is where you really see that multifaceted nature of true expertise. It often stretches beyond the expected boundaries. So beyond all the science, Professor Mariod is also a published short stories writer.
Get out. Really?
Yeah. His works have appeared in newspapers, international dailies like Al Arab in London, cultural magazines like Al Faisal in Saudi Arabia. It's not just a side hobby. It seems like another important avenue for his intellectual expression.
That's amazing. It's such a different way of thinking, isn't it, compared to rigorous scientific methodology. What kind of perspective do you think writing fiction brings to his scientific work, or maybe the other way around?
That's a great question. I mean, writing fiction often requires deep empathy, right? Understanding complex human motivations, weaving together different ideas into a coherent story.
True.
Those are skills that can actually make a scientist more effective.
Hmm.
Better at communicating complex ideas, maybe understanding the human side, the societal implications of their research, approaching problems from different angles.
And his themes sound pretty deep too. It says here, focusing on the interaction of Western Sudan cultures with other dominated Central cultures and total rights, beauty, and freedom.
Yeah,
So he's using storytelling to explore complex societal issues, much like he uses science to explore complex food systems. It's explaining culture, but through different lenses.
exactly. It's a powerful synergy. Exploring cultural understanding through narrative and then through his science, he's preserving and elevating cultural food traditions. It connects. And there's another connection, maybe even more direct for our deep dive today. He's hosted multiple radio programs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, shows like Giza Wadawa, which means food is medicine. Another called Olgafly, meaning traditional sack, and one called Nature and Beauty. Who? So for years, he's been actively sharing knowledge, connecting directly with the public, making scientific and traditional insights accessible on topics perfectly aligned with his expertise.
Food as medicine, traditional sack.
Yeah, it underscores this real commitment he has to public engagement and education, not just academic circles.
You know, what really stands out to me here is how his personal passions for storytelling, for cultural exploration, they seem to really feed directly into his professional life. It makes it richer. It's clearly not just about accumulating facts and data for him. It's about communication, cultural understanding, making knowledge accessible and relevant to everyone,
Huh.
which actually is pretty much what we try to do here, the deep dive. It's a fantastic example of a truly integrated intellectual life.
It really is.
So wrapping this up, what we've discovered in this deep dive into just one document, Professor Marion's CV, is really a career that exemplifies dedication, relentless innovation, and this truly global, holistic perspective. From pioneering research into things like insect oils and indigenous plants, unconventional stuff,
Hmm.
to meticulously preserving and modernizing traditional Sudanese and Saudi foods. His work just spans the entire spectrum of food science.
Yeah, and his journey, it really underscores the critical importance of that holistic approach, valuing both the cutting-edge lab techniques and the ancient indigenous knowledge, understanding that each can inform and enrich the other. His publications, the patents, the teaching, the advisory roles, it all points to this profound, lasting impact on how we understand food, health, sustainability worldwide. He really embodies that idea that intellectual curiosity shouldn't have boundaries between disciplines.
Absolutely. He's not just a researcher in a narrow sense. He's an educator, a consultant, a mentor, and surprisingly, a powerful storyteller too,
Mm.
all rolled into one extraordinary individual who bridges disciplines and cultures.
Indeed. And his work, I think, really invites all of us to reconsider our own perspectives. How many more unconventional solutions or vital pieces of traditional knowledge might just be waiting out there to be explored, simply because we haven't looked at them with an open mind, maybe, or with the right scientific lens? And how might bringing together seemingly disparate fields like food science and cultural storytelling, how might that truly help transform our world? Maybe something to think about. What will you look at differently on your next grocery trip, or maybe during your next meal, knowing the depth of knowledge that could be hiding in plain sight?